What have you been trying to serve in ways that were never meant for you? What if the pressure that you feel to volunteer here and donate there and show up everywhere, what if that's draining you or drowning out the quiet voices telling you how you are actually called to give back? Well, welcome to the Season of Self-Love Podcast. I am Nyomi, and today we are getting clear on your service sweet spot. You know, that place where your gifts meet the world needs and magic happens. Well, let's find out together. Welcome to the Season of Self-Love Podcast, the season of healing intentionally. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am so glad that you are here. This season, we are slowing down to go deeper. Every Monday and Wednesday, we're creating a space of intentional healing, authentic conversations, and the kind of self-love that transforms from the inside out. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself intentionally is a foundation of true transformation. So whether you're on your own journey of rebirth, navigating life transitions, or simply choosing yourself, this is your safe space. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's heal together intentionally, because you deserve to embrace that beautiful person that you are. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love Podcast. I'm your host, Nyomi Banks, and this is our month series of giving back. We have an amazing conversation today to talk about that we are going to talk about. Before we get into this topic, let's go ahead and take this really quick break just to do a little average, and then we're going to be back. All right, it's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here on the Season of Self-Love Podcast, and we'll be right back.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
All right, my beautiful people, as we continue to heal always, let's ground ourselves before we get into the topic at hand. All right, so wherever you're at this moment in time, and you feel comfortable to do so, please close your eyes and let's take this moment before we get deep into this in this conversation. All right, take a deep breath in through your nose and release it slowly through your mouth. Now let's do that again. Let's breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Now I want you to place both of your hands on your heart. Feel that connection to yourself, to your truth, to your gifts. Now I want you to ask yourself some questions. Don't overthink them. Just notice them when what bubbles up, right? First question, what lights me up? What comes naturally to me, so natural that I sometimes forget that it's a gift? Now, what do people always thank me for? I want you to just notice what's coming up. Don't judge it. And don't dismiss it as it's not important enough or it's too simple, but I just want you to notice it. Now I want you to imagine your unique gifts as seeds planted deep in your soul. Some of them are already in full bloom. Maybe it's your voice. Maybe it's your story. Maybe it's your creativity. Maybe it's your ability to make people feel seen. Others are just beginning to sprout, emerging gifts that you're still discovering and still learning to share. But all of them, every single seed is meant to be shared, not hoarded, not hidden, but shared. But here's what I want you to understand, is that you don't have to be everything to everyone. You don't have to bloom in every season or grow in every direction. You just have to be authentically you, offering what only you can give. Now for these next breaths, I want you to breathe in clarity. And I want to let that to fill your lungs, your heart, and your mind. And then I want you to breathe out comparison. I want you to release the pressure to serve like anyone else. Your service is unique to you. And that's not just okay, it's perfect. Now take one more deep breath in. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes. All right, my beautiful people. Well, happy Monday to all of you. And welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast here. And if you were with us last week, you know we kicked off November talking about giving back is the ultimate act of self-love. And if you missed it, I want you to go back and listen, because it sets the foundation of everything that we're building this month. But today we're going deeper, because here's what I've learned. Not everyone is called to serve in the same way. And that's not just okay. It is by design. So let me tell you about my own journey with this. You know, I host several different podcasts. I host Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap. I host this one, The Season of Self-Love, and I have a jewelry line, makeup line. I plan events. I advocate for women, health and healing. I am a certified relationship, sex, and love coach. I create content for TikTok and Instagram. I host space for women going through expert journey. You know, I go A, B, C, D. You know, when you look at it from the outside, it might look like I do a lot. And maybe I am. But here's the thing. Every single one of those expressions of service is rooted in my gifts. It's rooted in my gifts. They all flow from the same source. My calling to create spaces where women can heal, where they can be seen, where men can heal, where they can be seen and they can remember who they are. My service doesn't look like my mother's service. It doesn't look like my best friend's service. It doesn't look like the influencer service that I see online. What it does, it looks like mine. And yours will look like yours. So today I want to give you permission. Okay, no. I want to help encourage you to give yourself permission to serve in ways that align with your gifts. Not what you think you should be doing, and not what looks impressive, but what actually flows from your soul. Because when you find your service sweet spot, that intersection is where your natural gifts needs and the world needs it. That's where service stops feeling like an obligation and it starts feeling like expression. So let's figure out what that looks like for you. So what I want to do before I get into this, I want to share something with all of you. Right now, you know, I am very candid and I am very real and authentic in our conversations here. And let me tell y'all something. This is my second time recording this whole thing. The very first time that I recorded, evidently my board was not connected. And so I did a whole 58 minutes of the show. And there was not a sound that came out. There was not a sound that I was going to edit. There was not a sound that came out. And I sat and I looked at it and I said, what is the lesson that I'm getting from this? What is happening here? And you know, and I thought it was funny. I was like, wow, am I supposed to do this episode? am I supposed to do this episode? And I said, did I go off of script, or did I say something I wasn't supposed to say? Was it something that was not aligned with me, or what I'm not supposed to say about this? I was like, wow. But when I finished it, when I finished that that episode, it was amazing, y'all. I don't even know if I'm gonna come back with the same energy for it. Honestly, let me be real. I don't know if I'm supposed to come back for that energy for that. Maybe that episode was only supposed to be for me and me doing it. And I know you're like, really, Nyomi? Yeah. When I say I have to look at it that way, I have to. Because as I am talking about this, and I'm telling you all about giving back, I'm talking about us being in service to others. And when I say this right now in real time, maybe that was myself being a service to myself. Maybe that's the understanding that not only am I writing these things, but I need to listen to them. Yes, I'm speaking them, but sometimes I need to sit into the listening form and understand what that looks like for me. So when I'm talking with you all, I'm talking to myself. And I just got to be honest. Sometimes it misses me. Sometimes it misses me. But in this conversation, it did not miss. It ain't missing because I do truly understand it. And I truly know how important it is for you to truly have your unique voice and for you to be in service the only way you know how. And that's for you, not like me, not like another influencer, not like somebody else that you admire, but your own voice. It's good to be influenced by them, but you still have to figure out what is your thing. What is your sweet spot? What is that thing that makes you uniquely you? That makes you uniquely you. So the first thing that I want to share with you is what the different form of services are. All right. The different forms of services are. So I want to expand on that understanding, what service even means, because I think sometimes we have this narrow definition, like service has to be volunteering at a soup kitchen or writing a big check to a charity. And while those are all beautiful forms of service, they're not the only forms. So let me break this down to you in 5 different ways that you can serve. And I want you to notice which ones resonate with you. The first one is time. All right, it's time. This is probably what most of us think of first. Time is about showing up, is being present, is volunteering your hours, is physically being present, right? Maybe you're the person who shows up for every family gathering. Maybe you volunteer at your kid's school, or maybe you're always available when a friend needs to talk. That's service through time. That is service through time. That's you giving your most precious non-renewable service. You know what I'm saying? The hours of your life is to be present for others. All right. And the second one is talent. This is where it gets very interesting, because talent is about using your specific skills to serve. Like for me, it's like podcasting. I use my voice. I use my gift of authentic conversation, right? I use my ability to hold space, right? That's my talent, right? I use my jewelry line. Actually, I have a pair of my jewelry right now that has amber in it, for different things. That's using my creativity to create pieces that help women to feel beautiful, empowered, to help them heal through the gems that I create within the jewelry. So maybe your talent is writing, and you serve by documenting family histories or writing encouragement notes. Or maybe you're a graphic designer who creates flyers for community events. Or maybe you're an accountant who helps people file their taxes for free. Your professional skills, those are forms of service when you use them with intention. All right, so our next one is treasure. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about money, because I know this one brings up a lot of stuff for people. Treasure is financial support. It's about donating to causes that you believe in, sponsoring a child's education, buying groceries for a family in need, or supporting a Black-owned businesses or small businesses or women-led businesses. And listen, if you are in the season where you don't have financial treasures to give, that's okay. But if you do have the resources, money is a very powerful way to serve, and it extends your impact beyond what your time alone could reach. And the next one is testimony. This one. Now, this one is everything to me. You see, testimony is sharing your story. It's being vulnerable about your journey so someone else doesn't feel alone in theirs. So when I show up on Ask Nyomi and I talk about my explant surgery, my explant journey, or I talk about my time in the industry, or I talk about my time of healing through my self-love process, or even if I talk about my experiencing with sex and relationships, those are my testimonies. Or when I share about deconstructing purity culture, or that's testimony, or this podcast, The Season of Self-Love, every episode is a testimony. So for you, your testimony might not be on a podcast. It might be a conversation with your daughter or your son about their body imaging or their masculinity or how them to be a man. Or it might be sharing your mental health journey with a friend. Or it might be a post on social media about what you have overcome. But what I want you not to do is I want you to never to underestimate the power of your story. Your testimony is someone else's survival guide. And the final one is touch. Yes, touch. This is a physical presence in the most literal sense. It's that hug. You know, that hug that you give someone who is crying. It's you sitting next to someone in their grief, even when you don't have the words. You're just sitting there in silence. It's a holding of a new mother's baby so she can take a shower, so she's able to take care of herself. It's that massage therapy. It's that energy healing. It's that literally touching people with care. Because some of you are natural nurturers. Your love language is physical touch and acts of service. That's your form of service. Being the safe space for people so they can collapse into it. They can collapse into you. So 5 forms: time, talent, treasure, testimony, and touch, the 5 T's. You don't have to do all 5 of them. You do not have to do all 5 of them. You don't even have to do 3. But I bet as I was talking through those, 1 or 2 of them made your spirit say, yes, that's me. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. That's definitely me. And I want you to pay attention to that. So now that you unpick one or 2 of those, so let's identify what your gifts are. So let's really get practical about identifying your gifts, because sometimes the things that come easiest to us are the things that we overlook. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes the things that come easiest to us are the things that we overlook. And I want you to think about these questions. If you are journaling, write them down. All right, this is one question. This is one other question. What do you do effortlessly that others struggle with? For me, it is creating a safe space for hard conversations. I can sit with someone's pain without trying to fix it. I can hold that paradox, that both, the both and instead of either or. I can ask the questions that help people find their own answers. Because I can see it from different perspectives. But I'm going to tell you this, I didn't always have these gifts. As these gifts, they feel so natural to me. I didn't always see this. I didn't always see it as a gift. I just thought it was just something that I had. But other people have told me, I don't know how you do that, because I will get so uncomfortable when people cry. I don't have the advice for them. I don't know. Is my advice going to be, well, I don't have the answers. But that's when I realized, oh, it is a gift. That is ease that I feel. Not everyone has that. So I shared this story not too long ago, and I'm going to share it again, is that from the time I was a little girl, I've always been a person that will give advice. People would, sit around me and they would tell me their whole business, about their life. No matter where I'm at, I could be on set, I could be on the streets, I could be in a store, and people will stop me and have conversations with me and tell me their whole business. I never knew why. And, I will give them some words of encouragement or maybe give them some advice. And I remember before, I'd be like, why are they telling me this? And I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be very honest. Sometimes I found that as a curse, because I thought, like, why are people always stopping me to tell me their business? Or even when I'm on set and someone's supposed to be working for me, and before I know it, I'm sitting them, helping them, through, to their life. They used to call me the Black Deer Abbey, literally. But one of my cousin-in-laws, my husband cousin, beautiful woman, beautiful spirit. I remember, I used to talk to her a lot, her and her daughter a lot used to call me, or even sit in my space. A lot of people do, but she was the one who actually told me that, what, have you ever thought about just being a life coach? And I was like, no, I really never thought about it. I mean, that wasn't something I thought, yes, I give advice, but that was it. I didn't think about it as doing it as a career or as in service. And said, you really do, because your wisdom and the things that you share with me, she said, you cannot buy that. She said, that is something that you can't teach someone. That's something that you genuinely have. And I really feel and believe that this is that's your calling. That's part of your calling that you should be doing. And I just remember just going through that and listening to her saying that, and probably like a year or so later, that's when my spiritual aspect just started really coming in. And then I really was like, okay, I really need to tap into that. And I remember even going to, getting more certification, taking more courses and classes, to kind of heighten that even more. And I remember going to some spiritual, some spiritual leaders, and I know I'm going to follow, but I'm going to come full circle back around. And I remember speaking to a lot of them, and them telling me, like, you honestly, not even knowing that I was in class during the certification, and these are 3 different ones that I've came encounter to. Each one of them told me, you are overqualified. You don't need any more certification. You don't need any more degrees. You don't need any more teachings for what you're doing and what you're giving. Mind you, they didn't know what I was doing. They didn't know what I was doing. I didn't go to them and say, this is Nyomi Banks. They didn't know who I was. And that I was like, wow. I had 3 different people to tell me this. So me using my journey, me using my experiences, me turning my pain into purpose, me turning my wounds into wisdom. That's a part of my service. That's how I service one another, through those gifts, through my creativity, whether it's through my words, to writing the podcast, to speaking, to using my authentic voice, to using my experiences, to making jewelry, makeup, songs. But not only that, but for you to give others or inspire others to encourage them to do the same. That is what your unique gift is. That's identifying what yours is. So now my question is for you. What about you? What do people compliment you on that you kind of shrug off? What do you do that makes people say, I could never? Maybe you are incredibly organized and you can't understand why everybody doesn't use the spreadsheets for everything. That is a gift, because I can't do that. Maybe you're a natural teacher and in explaining complex things in simple terms is easy for you. That is a gift. Or maybe you have a green thumb and keeping plants alive is no big deal to you. That is a gift. That's something that my grandmother had. That is something that I don't have. I am texting my loved ones, asking them, what do? I am on AI, trying to figure out, I got this plant. I take a picture of it. It's turning yellow here. I'm Googling it. I'm trying to figure it out. So if that's something that is a gift, but whatever comes naturally to you, that is pointing you towards your service sweet spot. So now my next question. What activities make you lose track of time? Now, this is very important because your gifts are usually connected to your joy. So when you are operating in your zone of genius, then time disappears. It truly do. Let me tell you something. For me, I can sit and have deep conversations for hours. And it could feel like 20 minutes. I can work on a podcast content. And before I look up and realize I have not eaten all day because I am so in the flow of it. Just like I just shared with you all, I did a whole 58 minutes. 58 minutes on this very same topic. Was just in the flow and getting it. And come to realize I did not record a damn thing. There was no voices on it at all. No, nothing. But that's me being in the flow of it. That's me loving and feeling the joy and understanding what I am giving back right here. It what fills me. It what allows me to overflow. That I don't have to tilt to pour into others. That it's coming from me genuinely. Just yesterday, I was sitting on a phone with one of my my beautiful cousins. I hadn't talked to her in years. It had to be a few years, and we had a nice, good, almost 2.5-hour conversation. You know, where we were not draining one another. That it was a real beautiful flow of conversations. You know. Even when I'm texting or when I'm in the DMs and I'm talking to someone, you know, and those conversations become deep because I love to share the wisdom that I've been through my 53 years of living. Because it's able to help someone else to get through with their and make them feel like they're not alone, that they're not crazy. Because I've been there and I felt that. So my question is for you, what does that do for you? So for you, mine's talking on the phone. Where do you lose your moments and your times at when it's giving you joy? Is it cooking? Maybe it is cooking. Maybe you get lost in the rhythm of chopping and stirring and creating. Maybe it's working with your hands, building, crafting, creating. Maybe it's being with children and suddenly 3 hours has passed and you ain't even know it. You didn't notice it. That flow state, that is your soul telling you, This is what you are built for. Now, my third question. What do people constantly ask you for help with? This one is huge because other people can often see our gifts before we can. So people always ask me for advice about relationships, about sex, about spirituality, about major life transitions. They ask me to hold space for them during hard times. They ask me on how I stay so authentic on social media. And when I come to realize those aren't random requests. What they are mirrors that's reflecting back at my gifts. So my question is to you is, what do people come to you for? What are you the go-to person in your friend group or your family or your community? Maybe people always ask you to plan events because you're so very detail-oriented. Maybe they ask you to pray for them because your spiritual connected is strong. Or maybe they ask you to help them move because you are reliable and you show up. But whatever it is, I want you to pay attention to it because that's your service sweet spot. And it's trying to reveal itself. For me, when I look at my gifts through these three questions, I see creating safe spaces. I see authentic conversations. I see spiritual guidance. I see holding space for transformation. And when I look how I serve through my podcast, through my coaching, through my advocacy work, it all flows from those gifts. And that's alignment. That is when service feels like expression instead of obligation. So now let's talk about alignment over obligation. Because this is something that's really important. Understanding what alignment is over obligation. Because here's the truth. Service shouldn't feel like a burden. If it is consistently drains you, if you dread it, if you are doing it out of guilt or pressure, it is not your calling. Let me say that again because I need you to hear it. If service constantly drains you, it is not your calling. It might be someone else's calling, but it is not yours. I know that might feel controversial, especially if you were raised in a religious space where service is meant to sacrifice, where you were taught that if it's not painful, then it doesn't count, right? That boundaries were seen as selfish. But that's not healthy service. What that is self-abandonment dressed up as righteousness. Healthy service is service that flows from your gifts, that are aligned with your purpose. It might challenge you. It might even stretch you. There might even be moments that are hard, but overall, it should energize you more than it depletes you. So let me give you an example from my own life. Early in my healing journey, I used to say yes to everything, every request for my time, every person who needed something from me. I thought that was my service. I thought it would have looked like. I thought being available to everyone all the time. And then I was burnt out. Very hard. I was exhausted. I was resentful. Honestly, I wasn't even serving people well because I was running on empty. And that's when I learned the difference between what I was called to do and what I felt obligated to. I had to learn to say no to the shoulds, or could I just say yes to the soul-led service? So then I started asking myself before even saying yes to anything, is this aligned with my gifts? Is this aligned with something that energizes me? Is this where I am called to serve, or I'm just saying yes because I feel guilty? And when I started being honest about those questions, everything changed. Everything changed. I stopped volunteering things that drained me. I stopped saying yes to speaking engagement that didn't align with my message. I stopped trying to be everything to everyone. And you know what happened? My service became more powerful because I was giving from a place of alignment instead of obligation. And here's what I want you to understand. Saying no to some forms of service isn't selfish. It's a stewardess of your gifts. It's a respect of your gifts. It's an honor of your gifts. So when you say no to what's not yours, you create space to say yes to what is. So when you stop trying to serve in ways that don't align with your gifts, you free up energy to serve powerfully in ways that do. Because guess what? Mother Teresa wasn't running a tech company. Steve Jobs wasn't running a hospice. And Oprah's show ain't trying to be a surgeon. They understood their lanes. They understood their gifts. And they served from a place of alignment. So you get the same thing. Do you understand that? This is where you get to say, all right, that's beautiful work and I love what you're doing, but it's not my work. It's not my work. You know, honestly, I remember, oh my God, I remember a few months back, one of my good girlfriends, I remember her asking me to be a part of, she was being the event coordinator for a fashion show. And she had saw old clipping of me being in a fashion show before. And she said, okay, I'm going to need your help doing such and such and such. And I remember her texting me, and I remember sitting with that text for a few days. And why I sat with that text for a few days, because I knew that wasn't a part of my, because I knew that was not a part of my, my gifts. That was no longer aligned with me anymore. But out of obligation, I say yes. And I remember it being so difficult because I was like, okay, I can do this and I can do that. You know, I got my lingerie line that I've already designed. I got that. You can put that in there. I got my earrings. You can put that in there. I got this here. You know, I got this here. And honestly, wasn't nothing working. And I remember I went on vacation and I was coming back. And I remember like, okay, I got 2 weeks out to get prepared for this event. And when I came back, I got ill, sick, my body shut down. And a few days later, she texts me and she says, I just went to a spiritual guidance and told me I was not supposed to be doing this. I thought it was so funny because I was just getting ready to text her and say, I am ill and I cannot do this. So the thing is that I am so glad that God, that the universe, that my spirit guides, that they all stepped in and they had to say no for me in that moment. They had to shut me down because that was me coming from a place of obligation. Just because I know how to do doesn't mean that this is a line or what I'm supposed to do at this moment at a time. That is not a part of my service. That was not a part of my service. It wasn't. So that was one of those times I said, oh my God, that is so beautiful. I'm excited for you. I will be there to watch you, but it is not my work. And that's why I can just share and laugh with you all right now on this because, yeah, that where I can say, I honor what you're doing, but I'm called to do something differently. I am no longer in that realm. I am no longer aligned with that. And it is okay. I think about a lot of people that ask me to interview for different podcasts and they really want me to come talk about, you know, who was the best person doing this, in a scene and such and such and such. And so I have to be very careful. Not that I'm ashamed of my past. No, I will speak of my past all the time. But when I speak of my past, I speak of my past and it's for a purpose and to show my transformation, if that makes sense. So if all we're going to talk about, if the best person that I had sex with was Lexington Steele, or give me my top 5 of this, no, because that's not where I'm at. That's not the season that I'm in. They were great. But how about talk about how did I go from here to here? Let's talk about that. And so it's probably a lot of platforms that I have missed because I'm not in that space. That's not where I'm aligned with. That is not what I'm in service for. Does that make sense? So when I think about that, allows me to serve in different ways of my expression and not from obligation. Just because I was in the adult industry and I did those things doesn't mean that I'm obligated to be on those platforms and speak in those ways, because I'm no longer aligned with that. And that's the same for you. You get to serve in ways that feels like your expressions and not from obligation. So when you do that, when you release the pressure to serve like everyone else and embrace the freedom to serve like you, that's when your impact becomes exceptional. That's when it comes like that. So now what I want to do is I want to close this main context today by talking about something that I think gets overlooked, and that's the small acts of service that have big impacts. The thing is that you don't have to start a nonprofit to serve, that you don't have to have a platform or a following, that you don't have to do something that looks impressive from the outside. Sometimes the most powerful service is the quiet, the consistent, and the small things. It can be a daily TikTok notes. Every morning you can post a little note, just a few sentences of encouragement or a reminder of truth. It can only take you 5 to 10 minutes, something like that. For me, I remember starting off with my yogi tea. I used to call it morning tea by the poolside. That every day I'll do me a yogi tea with a message on it. And I'll be like, wow, that relates to what I'm thinking about today or what I'm going through today. So when that message, how does it show up for me? And I used to post it. And the feedback that used to come with it, a lot of people used to say, I needed that today. I needed to know that today. Oh, wow, when you said that, that changed my whole perspective. You know what I'm saying? Or that screenshot that I sent to a friend. Oh my God, I needed that. So in that 2 or 3 minutes of voiceover showing that clip or that what's the name in the post, that few minutes, those sentences, that was a service. That was a service. On Instagram, it's the same thing. It's about just being yourself. It's all about me just being myself, sharing my thoughts, being vulnerable, sharing my exploit journey, sharing my weight loss journey, sharing me, embracing me getting older and understanding what that looks like for me now. Those reach people that I will never meet. But what that does, it creates ripples that I will never see. And that's an amazing thing, because that's service. A kind word to a cashier who looks tired, that's service. Showing up authentically on social media so someone else feels permission to do the same, that's service. Texting a friend thinking about you today, that's service. Leaving an encouraging comment on someone's post, baby, that's service. So when we've conditioned to think that service has to be big and public and impressive, but some of the most transformative service happens in the most smallest, the most quiet and consistent moments. So for you, maybe your service isn't a podcast or a platform, but maybe it's the way that you raise your children. You ever thought about that? Breaking generational curses and just modeling healthy relationships where your children grow out and do the same. Maybe it's the way that you show up at your job, bringing kindness into a toxic environment. Maybe it's the way that you treat yourself, modeling self-love so that people that are watching you learn that they can love themselves too. Please don't diminish the power of small acts done with great love. Because your presence, it matters. Your authenticity, it matters. Your small, consistent acts of kindness, they matter. You don't have to change the whole world. You just have to change someone's day. And that someone day might change their life. That's the ripple effect that we talked about last week. And it starts with small acts that are done with intention. So if you have been waiting until you have more time, more resources, more of a platform, then stop waiting. Serve where you are with what you have. Your small acts. Trust and believe that they are creating big impacts. All right, so let's make this real practical right here, all right? So here's what I want you to do this week, all right? Here's an exercise, all right? I want you to list 5 things. I want you to list 5 things you're naturally good at. Now, what you've been trained to do, not what looks good on a resume, but what comes naturally to you. Maybe you're a great listener. Maybe you're organized. Maybe you're funny and you can lighten up a room. Maybe you're a problem solver. Maybe you're just creative. Or just maybe simply you're just nurturing. But I want you to write those 5 things down. I don't want you to overthink it. And don't dismiss it with something because it seems that it's too simple. Because I want you to remember, simple doesn't mean that it's not valuable. And then I want you to reflect on it. And with this, I want you to reflect on it with this. Which of these bring you joy when you share it? Because I want you to remember that your service sweet spot is where your gifts meet joy. And I want you to look at this list. I want you to look at the list of the 5 things. And which one of them make you feel alive when you use them to help others? Which ones energize you instead of drain you? I want you to circle them. I want you to put a star by them. I want you to highlight them. Because those are your clues. Those are pointing you towards your service sweet spot. And then I want you to do action. Create action with them. I want you to choose one way to serve this week that feels aligned. Just one. Not all 5. Because I don't want you to try to be everything to everyone. Just one way that flows from your gifts and that brings you joy. Maybe it's having a real conversation with someone who needs to be heard. Maybe it's creating something, art, music, food, and just sharing it. Maybe it's you using your organization skills to help someone who's overwhelmed. Or maybe it's posting something authentic that gives someone else permission to be real. One aligned action. That's all I'm asking for this week. And I want you to notice how it feels. I want you to notice if it energizes you or if it depletes you. Because that feedback is important. It's telling you whether you're in your service sweet spot or if you are outside of it. Yes. All right, my beautiful people. So before we close, I want to just ground ourselves in this truth in our spirits right now. So I want you to place your hand over your heart. And I want you to take a deep breath in. And I want you to speak these words with me out loud if you can, or just let them settle in your soul, all right? All right, my gifts are unique and needed. I don't have to serve like anyone else. I serve like me. My voice matters. My story matters. My presence matters. I release the pressure to do it all and embrace the freedom to do what I am called to do. Small acts with great love creates big change. I am enough exactly as I am. And my service, in whatever form it takes, is valuable and needed. I want you to breathe that in. Yeah, breathe it in. Okay, and let that be true, all right? All right, my beautiful people. Again, I want to thank you for just being here and just showing up. And just showing up and just being willing to discover your service sweet spot. You know, you don't have to be everything to everyone. And as I am speaking this to you all, I am speaking this to myself as if it's a mirrored imaging. You just have to be you in your unique expression of your service. That world, it needs it. So we got another guest that's coming this week, an amazing guest that's coming a week. But also next Monday, we will be continuing giving back this series with another layer. But for this week, I want you all to focus on those practical tools. Do the exercise, reflect on the questions, and take one aligned action at a time. If this episode has helped you see your gifts differently, I want you to share it with someone who needs permission to serve in their own unique way. Screenshot, tag me. Let's keep this conversation going. But until next time, I want you to remember that you are called. You are equipped in your service exactly as it is. It is enough. I love you, my beautiful people. Now go serve like only that you can. This is the season of self-love, and I am Nyomi Banks. And I will see you next week. Have an amazing day. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining me today on this journey of intentional healing. I hope that this conversation has filled your cup and reminded you of the beautiful and worthy person that you are. I want you to remember, healing isn't about rushing. It's about showing up for yourself with love and intention, one day at a time. So I'll see you back here Monday and Wednesday for another episode of the Season of Healing Intentionally, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. So until then, keep choosing you. And visit us at the seasonofselflovepodcast.com for show notes and resources. And remember to connect with me on Instagram at The Real Nyomi Banks. This has been brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, because your healing matters. You are loved. You are worthy. And you are exactly where you need to be. Take care.